right, hello and welcome back, everyone. In this episode, I'd like to talk a bit about power-off stalls, also called approach stalls. And the power-off stall is usually one of the most dangerous stalls, and that's because they typically tend to occur during approach to landing and below 1,000 feet. So there's not much time or altitude for good recovery. I've seen many reports in real life of of incidents caused by stalls on approach. Now, normally on an approach, you control your airspeed with your pitch and your altitude with your power settings. Um, but if you forget, or you get really busy in the cockpit, which can happen time to time, you might try to pull up to reduce your descent, which isn't correct, but it can easily happen to any of us, especially when we're out of practice or we just don't know about it. So that's why we're going to practice these stalls today, and we'll see what they look like, how they manifest, and how to avoid them and recover from them. To set up the stall practice, I'm just going to go over what it's about, what we're going to do before we do it. We'll be starting at about 3,500 feet. We're in kind of a normal cruise here at 3,500. We want to be sure we have enough altitude to recover from a worst case scenario, like we go really bad, get into a spin. We want to be able to get out of that by 1,500 feet. So that's our practice. We're going to pretend the ground is at 1,500 feet for sure. And then to get into this, we'll reduce our throttle to about 1,700 RPM. We'll put our carburetor heat on, extend our flaps in increments to 30 degrees. And then finally, we'll pitch and trim for 60 knots indicated, basically getting ourselves established on a normal descent to landing. So then once we're established on the descent, we'll pick an altitude to initiate the stall, and we'll do that by pulling back on the yoke, as we might during making a mistake or a busy flight condition, and we just whoops. So we'll do that. And the recovery is pretty simple. It's going to sound complicated, but it's pretty simple. We'll lower our pitch, which reduces the elevator pressure, then get back to a climb attitude. And at the same time, we'll be putting ailerons to neutral and then level the wings if we're banked, which we very well could be. And we'll use our rudder to control yaw so we don't turn it into a spin. We'll also be adding full power and remove the carburetor heat. And finally, we're going to remove the first notch of flaps immediately. And then we'll remove the second notch when we have a positive rate of climb, and we remove the third notch once we hit 60 knots indicated. Sounds like a lot to do for recovery, right? Well, it is, but it'll happen really fast. Lowering the pitch, leveling the wings, controlling the yaw, full power, carb heat off, and flaps the first notch will all happen within the first second or two. And then I'll add to that, we want to try to maintain our heading within plus or minus 10 degrees, and we want to keep our bank angle, if we can, to 20-degree bank at most. If we're outside those tolerances, we didn't do it very well. So that's going to be fun. So let's practice this a little now and see how it goes. So what we're going to do, as I stated, let's set to 1,700 RPM. Maintain our altitude for the moment. There's 1,700. Turn our carb heat on. Make sure that that's set properly. Oh, wrong one. There we go. There's our carb heat. Okay. And not doing so well maintaining my altitude there, but that's okay. Put in the first notch of flaps and second notch of flaps. Third notch of flaps. We're going to pitch and trim for 60. There we go. Just about there. Okay. So now we're on a fairly normal descent here. So we're at 3,000. Let's pick 2,500. So 2,500 will start our stall. So we're just doing a normal straight descent. We're at heading of what? 105 maybe? So we want to try to stay about there. Coming up to 1,500 feet. So now we're going to start initiating the stall. Airspeed's going to drop a bunch. And we get this buffet. There's a stall horn. And buffeting, and we're over. Okay, reduce the pressure, level the wings, full power, not first notch of flaps out. Climb attitude, positive rate of climb, second notch out. And we totally busted our heading, but that's okay. And we're past 60, so final notch out. That was a quick recovery, but we lost 200 feet. Let me climb back up a little bit. We'll just go to 3,000 this time. I did not stay on that 105 by any stretch. Let's see if we can fix that. I think the bank angle is way off too. I'll have to look at it again after. Let's make it a little. I'll try to make it a little easier. I'll pick a heading of east here. Try to stay within 10 degrees of east. And we're almost to 3,000. Let's try climbing more like 70. There we go. 3,000. Reduce my throttle back down to about 2,400. Trim back out a little bit. Okay, so let's get this set up once again. We'll go back to 1,700 RPM. Repeat on. Try to maintain that 3,000. We're in the white arc. First notch of flaps. Second notch of flaps. Third notch of flaps. Pitch and trim for 60. We'll shoot for 1,500 feet again. I mean, sorry, 2,500 feet. We'll initiate there again. We're still on a course of east at the moment. Okay. 1,500. Start pulling it back. Airspeed's bleeding off. Pulling back, pulling back, pulling back, pulling back. Stall horn. And buff it. And oh, there we go. All right. Full. Level the wings. Full power. One notch of flaps out. Carb heat off. And climbing pitch. Positive rate of climb. Second notch of flaps coming out. And wait, yep, okay, we're above 70 again, so we can take that last notch out. And we actually pretty much stayed on east this time. So it gets hectic even trying to explain it and, and show it. I think we lost a little more altitude that time. But I'll do one more. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about, you know, recognizing it before it gets that bad. So let's get back up to that 3,000 there. Still on a heading at east. Ish. Climbing out at 60. There was 70. There we go. That's good enough. Almost to 3,000. Now, in the real world, if you're practicing these things, you'd do something called clearing turns before you did any kind of maneuver like this. And basically what that does, you turn like 180 degrees one way, 180 degrees the other way, and then, you know, so that just to make sure you can see that there's no traffic immediately around you. You know, do a full 360 circle if you wanted to. It would accomplish the same thing. I didn't do that in the simulator because I have all traffic turned off, so I know there's nobody out here. So we're at 2,400, pretty much pitched for level. Let's reduce to 1,700 once again. Try to maintain this altitude. So there's 1,700 RPM. Keep that attitude and altitude at the moment. In the white arc, first notch of flaps. Back to 1,700. Okay, and second notch of flaps. There we go. Pitch down. We're gonna pitch and trim for 60 still. Third notch of flaps. Okay, well, pretty close to trim for that. That's looking good. Carb heat is on now. I just turned it on. Forgot to do that. So we're at 60, coming up to our 2,500 feet mark. We are not quite looking at east at the moment. Let's get back on east. There we are. Still pitching for about 60. And there's 2,500 feet. So let's initiate the stall. Pulling back, pulling back, pulling back, pulling back. And it brakes. Release the pressure. Whoa, full throttle. Carb heat off. One notch of flaps out. Climb attitude. It's scary rough. Okay, once we've confirmed a positive rate of climb for sure. There we are. Now the notch of flaps out. Past 60. Last notch of flaps out. That was messy. And I got way off east. But it really does behave that way in the real plane too. So that's why we practice these. I'm not doing them perfect, and you're not going to do them perfect either if you've never done them before. But that's why you practice for it. So yeah, let me just show real quick how to even avoid getting into it. All right, so let's see if we can show how we can detect them and avoid them to begin with. So we'll set up for our descent like we've done before, 1,700 RPM. Try to maintain our altitude. Let the airspeed drop. We're within the white arc, so let's pop a notch of flaps. Pitch for 70 with that knot, or 75-ish. Another notch. I will do about 65, 70 with this. And on the third notch, which we can put in pretty soon. There we go. Now we pitch for 60. There we go. So again, 2,500, we will begin initiating it. And really the first thing to do is you hear the stall horn, just push the yoke forward a little bit. Relieve that back pressure. All right, there's 1,500. We'll start pulling back gently. Speed's dropping. Stall horn, let's push that down a little bit. See if we can gain some more speed. I'll put in some throttle. There we go. Now I can reduce back again. And we lost 100 feet, so I wouldn't do that too close to the ground, but we're back on our descent speed at 60. We can reduce again. There's 1,700-ish. So it was a quick recovery. Now, if you don't hear your stall horn, let's say, right? At 1,700, we say you don't hear it. See how the plane wants to buff it? Oh, it turned into a stall. Flaps out, carbs out, pitch back a little bit. We're at the speed. Positive rate. Another notch of flaps out. See that turned into one on me. Wasn't expecting that. Anyway, I think you get the idea. But so anyway, there you have it. We got power off stalls, how to recognize them and recover them from them. I hope you found it somewhat helpful. Maybe you got to learn a little something today. I know I did. Just practicing them again. I've been so rusty on them. A few things I forgot there, here and there. Hey, thanks for watching. Until next time, take care and happy flying.